I've no clue where I am, no clue where I'm going, but we're vibing. Last night was a bit ropey. Just about made it back to the hostel. I don't really remember how I got back, but we got back in one piece, which was really important. So welcome back to episode 2 of 12 Destinations for Growth. Now this time last year I took myself and I headed away to Copenhagen, and I think I was awake for 24 hours, so my memory's a little bit foggy on the first day, but I can remember a few little bits and bobs. Whilst in comparison to this year I decided to take myself to Gdańsk or Gdansk in Poland, and I'm going to cut to a little clip where I am just travelling on my way to the airport. So roll the clip. Alrighty, so it's currently 6:30 in the morning. It is the 16th of March 2025, and we are making our way to the airport to head to Gdańsk in Poland. And I am extremely buzzing for this wee trip now. It's somewhere I've wanted to go for a long, long time. And funny enough, this time tomorrow last year, we were actually on our way to Copenhagen. Actually went there over St. Patrick's Day. So I've made the mistake once again. I've actually booked this trip over Paddy's Day. I'm going to make it a little goal of mine for tomorrow, which is St. Paddy's Day, to try and find something a little bit Paddy's related in Poland, and we'll see what we can get done. And yeah, funny enough, I actually remember going to Copenhagen last year. I was actually quite nervous about it, since it was the second solo adventure from Edinburgh. I kind of had the mindset that, like, right, it's going to be nothing like Edinburgh, so I kind of need to go into this with a real open mind. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I just kind of went there and went with the flow a little bit. When I arrived, it was absolutely Baltic. I also arrived at the airport in Copenhagen, and none of my credit cards or debit cards would work. I had like a Wise card, a Monzo card, and a Revolut. None of them would work. None of them, not one. And simply because I didn't have cards. Before those accounts, like physical cards, and weirdly all of the card machines over in Copenhagen don't use contactless. So well, I think when I went into the town more did, but whenever I was at the airport, all that area, not one didn't use contactless. You actually had to put the card into the machine, and I ended up reading it. You didn't have to type in a pin or anything, which is a bit odd. So then I had a bit of a panic and went and kind of exchanged some euros into the Copenhagen currency. I honestly can't remember what it was. I think it's the Danish krone, is it? The Danish krone, that's the one. And the currency rate, I got absolutely botched on it, I can't lie. But it was enough just to get me fed that day and figure out my cards and stuff. So it all worked out in the end, which was the main thing. Going to Copenhagen was the first country I went to where obviously English isn't the predominant language. And it was kind of one of them countries where it's like, if you don't learn a few phrases of their language, then they don't really show you the respect for it, which is fair enough. I remember I tried learning some Duolingo like 2 weeks before going to the trip, and the only thing I remember learning was like alma, which meant I think the apple, and that's all I knew. So I was able to order an apple in a supermarket. Well, not really order an apple, ask someone in directions for an apple. That was the peak of my Danish speaking at that time. But yeah, I'm just really excited to head to Poland, and I'm going to do a similar kind of thing that I did in the first episode, except this time I'm going to try and record it all in Poland, so it's going to be quite interesting. It'll be like a live kind of comparison as I'm going through the streets of Poland and stuff like that. So really excited. Gdańsk is an absolutely beautiful place. Still don't really have any clue what I'm going to be doing there, but apparently you can shoot guns, so I might take a trip to the gun range, who knows. And what else can you do? There's like I think it's one of the oldest churches in Europe that is like built from brick, so that'll be pretty cool to see. And yeah, I will see you guys once I arrive in Poland. I'm currently en route to the hostel, and I've no real clue where I am at the minute. Don't know if you can see that behind me, but it's pretty interesting, pretty unique. I guess first things first, I'm quite taken back by like how nice all the Polish people here are, all the locals. I just stopped for like a cigarette while crossing the road, and this kind of older man approached me. I think he was asking for a cigarette. Well, he was, but he was speaking to me in Polish. I had no clue what he was saying. So he was like, English? He just looked at me like, and then he kind of just like signaled. I was like, oh yeah, sure, why not? And he just kind of stood there beside me for a while. Like, I gave him the lighter, and the lighter was kind of on its last legs. and I felt bad. I think he had like arthritis or something, his hands were real shaky, so we couldn't light it, and then I ended up lighting the ciggy for him. We kind of just stood there in silence with each other for a good 5 minutes just smoking this ciggy, and then he kept like looking me real stern in the eyes, like he was assessing me or judging me or something, and I just gave him a big smile and he just started laughing. So yeah, it's a nice wee interesting time so far. I ended up just deciding to go to Mackey's for food because I was like, I want something nice and quick, so got that sorted, and then yeah, that was kind of the peak of it so far. Still just kind of navigate my way around. Want to check into the hostel here now. No real clue what kind of area I'm in, but it seems interesting. It seems interesting, like as I've seen, shown this wee spot in the back, kind of a bit sketched, and it's a bit nicer. Further back it goes, and it's kind of nice wee walkway. I think I just crossed the wee canal here, and then it should bring me to where I want to go. But yeah, so far so good. As you can see, there were some light bits of snowfall last night. And yeah, this is now day 2. Oof, my hair is doing a madness. I make this mistake every single place that I go, and it is that I'll try and buy a bottle of water, and as soon as I unscrew that cap, it's flipping sparkling water every time. So I went to a wee shop there, got some sparkling water, and I don't even know what this is, but it's like a croissant. Give you a little idea of what we're working with here. So this is what it is, kind of like a little glazed croissant. Got that in 2 bottles of sparkling water for £1.85. Can't complain. Just gonna get a wee taste test. No doubt. And yeah, so when I touched down in Gdańsk, I was kind of struggling to find the bus stop and everything like that, but it was super handy to get tickets. You just kind of, as soon as you get out of the airport, you just walk straight on over to the car park and you'll find the bus stop there. And bus tickets are like 4.80 zloty or something like that, which works out to be less than £1 sterling. So it was really cheap, and that was able to get you from the airport to the city centre. And I think it was around a half an hour to 40-minute journey. So really wasn't too shabby, and you know, it was quite fun. And throughout this video, I kind of tried to make it a bit of a vlog format, but it didn't really work out, as when I was kind of going around Poland, I was getting way too excited by everything and kind of forgot like to really share any valuable information throughout the whole journey. I kind of just spoke about what I was seeing and how I was feeling and stuff. It was St. Paddy's Day too, so I have a few random clips, like 5-minute videos I just recorded whilst on a few pints, so they may make it into the cut, I don't know. I still need to rewatch some of that footage. I've watched some of it and it's unique to say the least. Lovely. Alright, it is now go time. I've got a complimentary free shot. Ooh, cheers. Oh my god. That is vodka, alright. Jeez. Lovely. Jeez, that was strong. Thank you very much. Cheers. Have a good day now. I appreciate the hat. Thank you. Alright, hopefully this hat will protect me from these strong rays. See what happens. But yes, I have no clue where I'm heading right now. I may have spent a bit more time than expected there in that wee pub, wee Irish pub called Gdańsk something. And see if we can get by here. We can indeed. I think today our goal is to support St. Paddy's Day. As you can see, I got a wee free hat and all, so Operation Get the Hat has been sorted. I do kind of need a beanie or something to keep my ears warm because they are Baltic out here. It is currently, I don't know what temperature it is, but it was 0 degrees when I left the hostel this morning. So it's still quite cold, but we're vibing, thriving, living life to the fullest. As I say, see if I can cross the road here real quick. No cars coming. Beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, don't know where we're going. I'm just wearing my little hat, living life to the fullest. Trying to avoid all these puddles from the snow last night. That is a cool wee view there of something that I cannot tell you what it is, because I am a bit of a nuisance. I have no clue where I am, no clue where I'm going, but we're vibing. Currently on the hunt for another Irish pub. Still rocking the hat, as you know, has to be done. Oh, I felt a nice bit of warmth from a fire there. We're back at some sort of canal we were at yesterday, I think. I can't lie, I've been walking the exact same route that I was walking yesterday, but since it's sunny, if this wants to flip around, it all looks pretty aesthetic. It looks pretty nice. I can't lie. This is kind of the area where there's no footpaths, no nothing. Yeah, we're definitely in an industrial state, alright. You've got to experience these little trips and go everywhere you can. I'm currently sludging away in all this mud. Hopefully they're not mad at me when I'm walking with some muddy kids. But yeah, I'm excited to show you what we have in store for now. It makes sense why it's an industrial estate because of what it is I'm going to be doing. And yeah, it's quite exciting. Haven't done this before, so very excited. I just hope they will let me record. We'll go from there.
So as you can see, many of little kids everywhere.
Yeah.
Your target. This is a spread type of ammunition.
Okay.
Like for the hunting.
Yeah, I get it.
Alright.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. For you, if you want to keep it.
Thank you. But yeah, even in contrast to when I first arrived in Copenhagen, as I mentioned, none of my cards were working and I was kind of, you know, panicking a little bit. And because of that, I didn't get like a train or a bus or anything because I was afraid my cards wouldn't work and I could and I could end up getting fined or something. So I made it a mission of mine to walk from the airport all the way to the city centre. Don't ask me why or how I was doing this. I think it was also like 0 degrees too, so it was really, really cold. But I ended up taking a long detour and just walked along the coast. And I believe it was called like Kastrup Sobad. No, that sounded a bit German. I don't think that was right. Kastrup Sobad. Something on the lines of that. I'm probably butchering this, but it's pretty much like the bit of the coast, coastal walk. It's a part on the coastal walk. It's like a big open kind of bathing area, if that makes sense. It's like a big kind of wooden walkway. I'll have pictures up on the screen now, but a big wooden walkway up to it. Loads of people were just jumping in, having dips and all. It was a bit raging. I didn't bring my towels, so I would have loved to hop in because, as I previously said, I was running off no sleep, just running off coffee. And the coffees over there were so expensive. And the worst part was it was so cold that I kept on like trying to find a coffee shop anywhere. And I was like, I'll pay anything for like a cup of tea or something to keep me warm. But a cup of tea was £6. And a cup of coffee was like £8 to £9 in like a few of the places on the coast. When I went into the city centre, it got a bit cheaper. But on the coast, I was gobsmacked. Like this was my first impression of the prices, and it was just crazy. But whilst going along that coastal walk, you know, I just chilled. Like I just sat and chilled because obviously I was knackered, but I was just taking everything in and just really observing the true beauty. Took a load of snaps, and as you can see, there was the Øresund Bridge. I hope I pronounced that right. You know, again, if there's anyone that's Scandinavian watching this or anything, apologies. I'm trying my best to read. But basically this bridge is the bridge that connects Copenhagen to Malmö, Sweden. And, you know, you can get tickets from Copenhagen to get over there by train and stuff. I was tempted to do it, but I was on quite a tight schedule as I just had a weekend there. Basically 2 days, and that first day was that day when I arrived. So I was arriving really early, I think. Like, I don't know, I was around 9 a.m. I got off the plane, I think, and I was down and around causing mayhem. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, after my coastal visit, I decided to, you know, try and make my way into town. And I was walking and walking, and I was like, this is going to take me another hour and a half, and I don't have the energy for it right now. So I looked up my phone, like the trains and stuff, and then I seen, because Copenhagen's such a like predominantly, I guess it's famous for the amount of bikes and cyclists at it, I guess. It's a really eco-friendly and, you know, clean environment over there. They literally built a special bridge for hundreds and thousands of cyclists to use every day, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I found like this app I could download, and it allowed me to use these rental bikes, which were electric. So I was able to just hop on that and fly, going like 30 miles per hour, just loving life. And yeah, I kept like arriving at just random destinations in Copenhagen and just sort of doing little stops and looking at everything. I remember I stopped at this like kind of pond and went for this walk up a big hill and everything, and it was a coolish little view. I was like in the middle of, I don't know where in Copenhagen, but it was somewhere. It definitely wasn't the city centre, but it looked cool. And yeah, I was just taking everything in and loving life. And then I continued to cycle into the town and really got to experience all the architecture. And it was really interesting because it had so much modern and kind of historic buildings like side by side, if that makes sense. Almost on one side you had historic and on the other side it was more modern based. Or if you just walked down one street it was completely different, which I found really interesting. Now it is like that in most places, I can't lie, but the way it looked in Copenhagen, because the modern buildings almost had like, I don't know how to describe it, but a style that kind of resembled the historical buildings. I don't know if that's making much sense, but I'm trying, and yeah, I hope you get what I mean. And yeah, I just kept going on, and then I finally arrived at my hostel, and it was stunning. It was basically like a hotel. It was a bit too like upmarket, I guess is the word to use, because it wasn't really a hostel vibe. It was more a hotel vibe, as I just said. Like you had full-on families staying there and all, but like the facilities in it were incredible. I think it was around like I think it was around like 20 to 30 euro a night, so a bit more expensive than previous days, but it was worth it for the facilities and everything around it. Plus, you were dead center in the middle of the town, and they offered like a free, not free, but like a £7 you got like a buffet for like solo travelers to have dinner, so you could just sit there and mingle around and stuff. And then pretty much when I arrived at the hostel, I kind of just kicked back, got some food and chilled and passed out, I'm pretty sure. Went to the little dinner, met some folks and went out for a nighttime walk, which was beautiful. Got catching up with them, but sadly they were all going home the next day, apart from one of them, who I tried to link up with the next day, but we both had kind of different things we wanted to see and do. So on day 2, I ended up going to the Round Tower, I believe it was called. Basically, I think it cost around 15 quid, so not cheap, but it was pretty cool because you know, you climbed up this massive big tower, went running around for ages till you got to the top. And on your way up the tower, they had like loads of little kind of art galleries, museums and things to see. So like, you know, you're not just walking up and up and up the whole time, which was really, really interesting. You know, I haven't seen that be done in a lot of places, which was cool. And yeah, once I got to the top, you know, the view was just incredible. You could see all over Copenhagen, and I would highly recommend you do that if you are going to Copenhagen and you want to get like a nice kind of aerial view of the place, because it was just incredible to see. You know, in one day I tried to squeeze in so much. I tried to squeeze in everything I could see, and I'd met a few people who had been to places and told me like what they loved and what they didn't, so I kind of went off that vibe a little bit. I know I shouldn't, but I was on an extremely tight schedule and wanted to see as much as possible, so I booked like a little kind of canal boat trip. Last minute, I think I just stumbled across this random little kiosk and got a ticket. Can't really remember how much it was, but I don't think it was overly cheap. But I just wanted to go through the canal and see everything. And I think I was at that kiosk. It was at Nyhavn, I believe it's called. I think it's one of the most famous streets or famous places in Copenhagen. People recommend to get down there early so it's not too packed. I can't really remember what time I was there at, but it wasn't too early and wasn't too late. And like, I could tell it was busy, but like it wasn't overly crowded. But then again, I did go in March, so it wasn't peak time probably. But Copenhagen was incredible, and I just really enjoyed like just the vibe of it, and like the fact I kind of challenged myself with like no sleep. I kind of find quite, you know, respectable, because I still went out of my way to socialize and stuff. Compared to the past 2 trips I've had this year, I wasn't as social as I would have liked to be, but you know, I just kind of seen these past 2 trips more trying to get that work-life balance. That's what I talked about. But pretty soon, what time even is it? Yeah, so it's 23 minutes to 11 at night. And I have a flight tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. from Dublin. So I need to be up in about 7 hours. Still haven't packed, but this will be for episode 3. So, you know, again, if you can guess where I'm heading to this time, please leave it down below. Any hints I can give you? You know what? I'll let you know the country. I'm going to Portugal. But if you can guess the city, kudos. And yeah, so my last story, you know, I fit so much into that one day that it felt like I was there for at least 4 or 5 days. I think that's why I decided to start doing longer hauls this year, because it was just too much. I did end up burning myself out last year, I can't lie, whilst working part-time and, you know, doing my own freelance work on the side. And then trying to travel maybe once a month or twice a month even on the weekends was quite a lot, you know. So I would be working part-time. I was lucky enough to choose the days I worked, 3 days of work in the office, unless we were doing shoots and stuff. And then obviously for my freelance, it was just kind of maybe like a shoot, 2-3 shoots a week, maybe like the odd week I'd have none. So it was handy. I was able to balance it all. But at times, you know, with the line of work I'm in, I can be quiet for a week, and then I can do a month's amount of work in 1 week, and then I'll have the rest of the month to put it all together. So it's unpredictable at times. You know, I'll have set monthly kind of shoots in place, so it keeps me going. But out of nowhere, sometimes I get a bit too ahead of myself and excited and take on a bit more than I can handle. Well, I wouldn't say more than I can handle, but more than I'm used to. So it does tend to catch up on me in the long run. But you know, I always get my balance out there and keep myself healthy, so that's the main thing. And I guess that's just a bit of advice I want to give to anyone watching this right now. You know, like if you're wanting to do this and you're seeing me doing this and thinking, I'm just going on holiday and having a blast every time. You know, I am having a blast. That's just because of my mindset, the way it is with it. But it's been tough. I'll be honest with you. Like, it has been tough. But it's been an ambitious project that I just really wanted to do. You know, I wanted to do something for myself. Because I feel like the past while I've done so much for others in terms of like business stuff and things like that, that I have nothing to really show for myself except for a portfolio. And I don't feel like a portfolio really showcases me. It showcases my skills and stuff, but it doesn't showcase me. So that's why I've, you know, took on this really ambitious project to showcase myself to y'all. And I just enjoy every second of it. And I've enjoyed every second of it. But of course, you know, with the likes of everything in life, you know, your emotions are a roller coaster at the end of the day. You know, your emotions are basically just energy in motion. So it's always going round and round and round. And sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And you're just going to find that happy balance. But sometimes there is no balance, and you just got to find ways through it to get to the next high of life, you know. And that's the thing, you know, not every single one of these trips has been like, I don't know how I would describe it, like extremely exciting for me to look back upon. Yes, they've all been incredible, and what I've seen and done has been class, but some of them hold a lot more value to me than others, simply because of the people there and just the experiences I've witnessed. Whilst others, I could kind of go there and, I don't know, my light might tend to dim a little bit because I'm lacking a bit of energy, or I'm just letting my anxiety get a bit too much of me. And sometimes I confuse my anxiety with tiredness, and that's a big one. Like for example in Gdańsk, when I arrived, I was so knackered, and literally when I went upstairs, there was a whole group of people just mingling, playing cards and stuff, and you know, I was tempted to go and join them, but then in my head I'm like, right, I need to go pack, and then I need to go unpack, which I needed to do, of course. But then I go unpack, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I could go upstairs, but I could just go and lie in bed and have a nap. But then, you know, part of me is like, yes, I was tired, but I could have fought through that. You know, my anxiety kind of just bittered at the back of my head and let me have that nap. And then I ended up sleeping through the whole day. So, yeah, I probably needed to sleep, but I'm going on another tangent. But you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can let your anxieties take over you, and that's not the best. You know, you got to keep fighting them and just keep finding ways to get around it, basically. Because the feeling that you get afterwards is just sensational. And then the memories you create after is incredible too. So, with me going into this next trip, no matter how tired I am tomorrow, I am making it a goal of mine to just be a social being, you know what I mean? For the next few days, I'm an extrovert. I'm going to love life and just make a whole bunch of friends and see what shenanigans we can get up to. But yeah, again, I'm going on such a crazy, crazy tangent. I am a bit sleepy, so that's probably why I'm rambling on so much about random things. But yeah, that is it. There's just one last place I visited in Copenhagen, which really I found quite crazy. And I actually recorded this, in which I found quite crazy. So I'm going to pass the camera back to the Ross in the past, and he'll tell you the story. That's that. Yeah, I'm passing it back to the past me. So sadly, I have lost the footage of my last day in Gdansk, and that included me telling this story. But this story is brilliant, so I have to share it. It's probably the one thing I remember from Copenhagen the most, because of just how much of a eerie and dodgy story it was. But before I get into it, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, please do let me know what's been your favourite part in the comments down below. And make sure to like this video if you've enjoyed it, and please do subscribe, as it does help me a lot get out there. But yes, getting into this story, so I decided to take a little trip to Christiana, Freetown, I believe it's called, in Copenhagen. It's basically almost like a little island off the Copenhagen city itself, and
I think it's kind of like an arsonist town, is what you would call it. Basically, they almost have their own laws or rules, you could call them, because they're not as strong as laws, I believe. But basically, the rules are you're not allowed to run on the island, you're not allowed to drive, you're not allowed to cycle, and you're allowed to recreationally use drugs. And there's also a spot in the area, I think, called the Green Zone, where people literally have drug markets, almost like food markets, which I just thought was mind blowing. And everyone I had spoke to my first day in Copenhagen had told me that I had to go and see it. Even people I knew in Belfast told me I had to go and see it, as it's a one in a lifetime kind of experience. It's something you'll never really see anywhere else in the world. Well, maybe somewhere else, but definitely not back at home. When I first kind of walked onto this land, I was instantly like greeted by all the kind of graffitied walls and everything, which just looked stunning. But then I noticed like a whole lot of kind of DIY jobs, and there was like little stalls and all for people who were in need for like free shoes and things like that, jackets, baby clothes, loads of stuff on that kind of line, which is quite wholesome to see. But then out of nowhere, I just see this massive like motorcycle just attached to this top of like hanging off a building, and I'm just like, okay, what is going on here? This is quite interesting. I've never really seen anything like this before. And I keep going deeper into the town. They had this really cool little art shop, which looked really funky. It's the only place on the island you're allowed to take cameras. The rest of it is another rule of it. You're not allowed any phones or cameras. You can't take photos or anything, as you may, I guess, incriminate people. But I went in there, had a wee nosy, and then I may have been a bit sneaky and kept the camera out and just kept snapping away to document the process. And I remember walking down this little alleyway, and I just seen like a little DIY watchtower, like probably about 7 foot tall, with like a doll, a really creepy doll inside of it, being the lookout scout. Really freaked me out, I can't lie. Gave me an eerie start to this little adventure. And everyone had recommended to me to make sure that I go before the evening, make sure to go in either the early morning or early afternoon. But I kind of got carried away and distracted at other things during the day, that I arrived at this place at about 5 p.m. And from what occurs next, definitely wasn't the best time to go. And I was walking with my camera out, thinking I was still in the zone where I could take photos. And out of nowhere, I see these two guys walking towards me, giving me like a death stare. And I see them like passing a bag of some sort between each other. And I was like, okay, I might be in the zone. As soon as they walk by, they reveal behind them is a massive big sign with a camera and a big red X through it. And I was like, oh no. And then I literally get a quick glance towards what's beyond, and it's the green zone, the market itself. So I was slightly panicking, quickly ran to a bench, packed in my camera, and I was kind of just getting eyed up by everyone whilst doing so, and I was freaking out a little bit. And then I just kind of decided, you know what, I'm just going to walk through this and experience it and see what it is all about. And as I previously said, it was literally like a food market, but for drugs. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. And as I kind of went further in to the market, I seen like everyone that was standing there had their hoods up, dressed in black, kind of standing there like they're ready to serve you some shenanigans. And out of nowhere, I see these two guys kind of quickly walking around as you can't run, so they're like doing a fast walk. And out of nowhere, they start climbing up on this like shed roof and building and all. I see them like searching for something and grabbing things. I don't know what they were grabbing, but you can use your creativity for that one. And then I kind of look at them guys and just keep walking on. And then I'm like, okay, this is a little bit eerie. You know, there's people using things and doing all sorts. So I kept walking around in the outskirts, and they had like loads of cool little bars and like live music areas, which looked sick. And I wish I was there when there was live music going on, because it could have been a cool vibe to get a beer, I can't lie. But I then also seen like a whole like entourage of police as well, kind of frisking down people. So in my head, I was still trying to work out how the laws worked on this little kind of town. And then out of nowhere, I kind of got lost in this little town itself. And there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crows above me, kept flying over my head like 24/7 the time I was there. And I kept thinking it was like a bad omen. So I started to get really, really anxious and uncomfortable in my stomach. And as I was trying to like kind of walk out of the town, I seen the 2-3 guys that were climbing on top of the shed previously, kind of just like walk real briskly towards this little hut. Again, they're walking like faster than they were previously. They walk real quickly into this building, and I can hear them and see them ravaging through it, scavenging through it, trying to find something. And then I'm just kind of looking at them because I'm intrigued to see what they're doing. And then out of nowhere, like there's a fence in between us, so I'm trying to walk up this little kind of lane, and on the other side of the fence is the walkway to the little hut. And all 3 of them just kind of start walking out of it, but like really, really, really quick, and like with the real sort of dominance. And out of nowhere, like I kind of just look out of the corner of my eyes, and all 3 of them are just like staring me down. And as I keep walking further, I try to pick up the pace a little bit because I'm feeling uncomfortable. out of nowhere, like from the corner of my eye, I see all three of them like walking straight as if they're just walking away from me, and all of them together just like that, just did a 180 turn and just started walking towards me quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And then out of nowhere, my heart's just pumping, pumping. It's like about to explode out of my chest. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. I have everything in my backpack right now. If something happens to me, I'm done for. I'm done for. I'm starting from scratch. And then yet they keep getting closer and closer. I hear the footsteps getting louder and louder. And then boom, they just walk straight by, and they just walk straight by, and my heart just relieved, and I was like, oh, okay, thank God, I need to get out of here, I need to get out of here. So I start getting a bit panicky, and I start trying to like, kind of race out of the place, and then I get across this bridge, and out of nowhere I see this big, massive, like 6'4" guy, big stocky build, just kind of in his own world, kind of off his head, isn't what I'd use. But when I looked into his eyes, they were like crystal blue that I just haven't seen before, and obviously just on some sort of substance, and I couldn't, I locked eyes, I couldn't let go, I don't know what was going on. And then out of nowhere, like, he keeps looking at me aggressively, again, he's walking, pacing towards me, there's so much space between us, like on this lane, but we're just walking straight towards each other as if we're about to bump into each other, and then out of nowhere we get face to face, he's still walking, he comes up to me, like leans into my ear and just like grunts, like, "Rrr, rrr." And I'm like, right, what is going on here? What is going on here? Again, he walks on by after doing that weird thing. So I just keep pacing on. I keep pacing on, trying to get out of here. And then I end up at this like beautiful kind of little lake-looking yoke with like a little, I don't know, handmade boat just sailing around, like a little toy boat into this little lake. And I was like, okay, I can relax. This is pretty cool. Looking around, there's loads of like little DIY houses and things like that. And then, yeah, the crows started going crazy again. The sun was starting to set, and I was just panicking. I'm like, if I don't get out of here, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I couldn't find any like rental bikes or anything to get off, because you can't have bikes in the island. So yeah, I just kept walking, and I think I was stuck in that little town for about 3 hours. I didn't know where I was, how to get off. I think like my phone was struggling with data too, so I couldn't look up a way to get out. So I just kept walking, and then finally I seen a big like bell tower, and I was like, okay, if I just keep walking towards that, find a bridge, I should be sweet. And yeah, I kept walking, finally found a bridge that got me off of that little island, and yeah, ended up finding a little rental bike and just paced my way back to the hostel to chill and get some good grub and sleep in me. And that was my last night in Copenhagen.
And then yeah, I guess to conclude the video, both trips were quite similar in ways. You know, I did feel out of place quite a lot, and being in a country that doesn't speak English is quite interesting. And my hostel was also on the outskirts of Gdańsk itself, so there's no real English spoke there. A few people may have had a few words, so I was able to order things and things like that, which is nice. But yeah, similar to Copenhagen, not a lot of people spoke English either, and I found it quite interesting. Also, try the food halls in Copenhagen. They're unreal. I forgot to mention that completely, but Tivoli Food Hall, I think. Food hall? Tivoli Food Hall was incredible. They have so many stalls. Again, as I said, you know, the two trips were very similar. On both trips, I did feel a little bit tired. I can't lie, in Gdańsk, I was quite under the weather. After St. Patrick's Day, I think I had some bad Guinness, so I was quite sick. And, you know, I was just taking it slow for the remainder of the trip. I did get to see everything I wanted to see, which is the main thing. Sadly, didn't make it to the coast. But yeah, I really enjoyed everything I've seen. And I'm going to do something different to conclude this video. I'm going to give you guys 3 destinations that I thoroughly enjoyed and would highly recommend to anyone who's thinking of visiting these 2 places. So firstly, for Copenhagen, you have to visit that beach. You have to go for a walk along that coast of Kastrup Sabad, I guess, where you can see the bridge connecting Malmö and Copenhagen. And then I would also highly recommend going up the Round Tower just to get an overview of everywhere. And then if you're feeling like it, go to Freetown Christiana, because it's something you're not going to see anywhere else. But, you know, I guess if you are traveling alone, be very wary. You will feel uncomfortable. Nothing's going to happen to you, but like you will feel like something's possible. So be careful when you're going there, and make sure you kind of go, I guess, early hours in the morning, kind of early afternoon times. Not too early in the morning where it's awkward times, but I'd say anywhere from like 10 to 12 should be okay. And you know, if you meet anyone at hostel or you're friends with you, make sure to go with them too. You know, I probably should have done that, so I didn't get as spooked. But yeah, they're my 3 locations, and then I'm going to throw in the Marble Church too, Frederick's Church. Why not? You have to go see it. And then for Gdańsk, I would highly recommend going up the Basilica Mariaka. It is just incredible. And if you're not really into going through cathedrals, blah blah blah, I still recommend going up to the cathedral, going up to the top of the basilica, because it's an experience walking up it. It really is. And yeah, highly recommend you go and visit Olivia Park, or Olivia Park, however it's pronounced. It's just an absolute beautiful walk through nature, and I think you would highly enjoy it if you are a bit of a nature lover. And if you are, I'd recommend going to the coast too, even though I didn't. I spoke to a lot of people who did, and they spent hours there and thought it was fabulous. And then, yeah, I guess lastly is just have to go visit the streets on Neptune's Fountain. It is just incredible buildings, architecture, everything. And you just feel like, I don't even know how to describe how I felt walking in those streets, but I was just mesmerized by everything. I hadn't really seen architecture like it. Kind of similar to when I was in Augsburg, Germany. I don't know what it was, something about, I guess, the colours maybe popped out to me, I think. But similar-ish buildings, I could be tripping, but yeah. They're the 3 places I would highly recommend. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have an absolutely splendid day, and yeah, I need to go and pack and get ready to head to Portugal, because I'm leaving at about 4 a.m. tomorrow. Maybe not 4 a.m, maybe about 3:30 in the morning tomorrow. So yeah, still haven't packed a single thing. Still debating what bag to bring. Still need to charge batteries. Yeah, I'll get there. This video was a priority though for tonight. Yeah, productivity at its highest. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please do make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that wee notification bell too, so you will be reminded when episode 3 goes live. And without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a splendid week, and I'll catch you in the next one.